How's the punters? Welcome back to the Best Sports Betting Podcast. Kind of an interesting one today. We've got no Premier League to talk about, and that's obviously we're going to be talking about the upcoming fixtures, if there are going to be any. And we're going to be covering a whole lot of other sports. So if you guys are tuning in for the Premier League, we're going to try and cover that one early on in the previews, right after our recaps. But Simon's with me as always. Simon, I can't say much about my sporting weekend because I didn't watch much. God Save the Queen, all of that. She passed away. A whole lot of events got cancelled. I don't need to rehash all of this, but yeah. So I didn't watch much over the weekend, to be
Yeah,
honest.
as you said, no EPL, but there was quite a lot of other events on the go. Yeah, I think maybe a nice place to start would just be a quick recap of Champions League.
Yes, and that's something I also didn't really watch because I was more focused on the EPL. But Liverpool, I think that's a talking
Yeah,
point.
geez, couldn't have got that one more wrong. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I was chasing a bit of steam there because the money was coming for Liverpool, and that actually came into some books had them at 1.9 eventually, so that moved 2.5 ticks. So there was really a lot of faith in Liverpool, a lot of money coming for them, but yeah, geez, woeful. I mean, they just really can't seem to find their rhythm so far.
yeah.
Um,
It's going to be hard backing them going forward for the next while.
it is. I mean, and then otherwise, look, Bayern, Barcelona, Spurs, Atletico all kind of got the job done as
Yeah.
favorites, so no real surprises there.
Yeah, so not too much to dwell on there. And then some tennis, Simon, the US Open. I want to do a quick recap for that one. This is more the Simon podcast, Simon segment.
Yeah, sure. I mean, actually a fantastic final. I was rooting for Alcaraz all the way. Yeah, a 19-year-old won his first Grand Slam. Geez, with such stamina as well. I mean, he actually, in the lead up to the final, played three five-set matches in a row, all of 4 to 5 hours each. And also they went till like 1, 2, even after 2 in the morning US time. So I mean, you can imagine, I mean, how exhausting that must be. And then leading up to your final, where he played Casper Ruud and put him away in 4 sets. But I must say, it was one of the best finals I've seen in a long time. And obviously, it didn't go the full distance like his previous matches did. But it gives me a lot of confidence in this kind of next generation's ability to keep the sport exciting and kind of obviously we've had a very cool last sort of 10 15 years with Nadal, Federer, Djokovic, but there really are some amazing up and coming players who are really coming to the fore. It was what I really enjoyed about this final actually was the long rallies. Neither player has an incredible serve, both very good serves but nothing amazing. And they're both brilliant returners. So, I mean, just their movement around the court was just leading to these long rallies. And you just kind of were never sure whether the ball was going to, it was almost always going to come back and play, no matter like what sort
Mm.
of angles they're playing, which is just really cool. Um, Alcaraz's sort of serve and volley is very similar to Roger Federer, and anything put short into Alcaraz's side of the court, Alcaraz just absolutely smashed. So they actually become world number one and world number two now after the final. So Alcaraz being world number one and Ruud number two. So I think it's quite fitting that those two actually ended up in the final
Yeah,
together.
nice. Some nice movement there. Then
Mm.
Simon, we're gonna jump over to South Africa versus England. Quick recap for those who didn't know what happened. We won the first, they won the second, and it was not looking good for us in the third when I stopped watching.
Yeah, sure. I think. I
But
mean,
there was all the delays. There were all the delays that were coming in
there
South Africa.
were. Yeah, it was very stop start. I mean, I was expecting a tighter third and final test because obviously we whitewashed England in the first, and then they whitewashed us in the second, and I just did not expect we'd get another one-sided affair, but we certainly did. And this time in England's favour again. Yeah, I mean, we managed 118 in our first innings, no contributions from anybody really. But then we did quite well to bowl England out for 158. So, there were only 40 runs to the good. Janssen and Rabado bowled really well. So there kind of seemed to be a glimmer of hope for us. But then we couldn't put up another total to put up for England for their second innings. So, we only managed 169, which is obviously only, marginally better than our first innings. So, yeah, I mean, England chased down our total with just one wicket lost,
Yeah,
and yeah, concluded the
disappointing,
match.
especially after
Yeah,
the start that we had. But yeah,
yeah, I mean, we had a terrible first innings, and I thought, okay, well, that's kind of we got a very small chance of winning this now. And then we bowled excellently in England's first innings, and I thought, okay, well, we're getting back into this, but then just another really shitty batting performance. So
mm,
yeah, the series goes 2-1 in England's favour.
unfortunately. And then the Italian GP.
Yeah, I must say, I think
Busy
I
weekend
jinxed.
we had, eh?
We did, and I think I jinxed it this week because I was just saying that although Max Verstappen has won, this was his fifth in a row. We haven't had one boring race, but man, this was a real snooze fest. I must say, this was one of the most boring races I've seen. I would say in a couple seasons. You had Leclerc starting in pole, which kind of gave me a bit of hope there. So, Verstappen has started pole most races he's been in. And Verstappen had a penalty and he started in seventh, but it didn't take long before he found himself in second place and then ahead of Leclerc. But what happened, which really kind of like put all the impetus out of the race and made it a real boring finish, is that Daniel Ricciardo had a power unit failure, and there was a safety car, and that was with only about 6 or 7 laps to go. So there was no chance then, of Leclerc or Russell overtaking Verstappen. Not that they probably would have, but obviously you can't overtake during the safety car. So it was probably the right decision to bring in the safety car. But I think, for the fans' perspective, it would have been much better if they'd stopped the race entirely, got the car off the track, and then had a standing start. But the thing is, it's the FIA. I think are terrified of doing something like that because after all the scrutiny that happened in the final race of Abu Dhabi, when Hamilton basically, essentially was robbed of the title. I think they're very, very reluctant to do something like that, and it would be unfair on Verstappen, if that was the case. So yeah, it ended up a really, really dull finish as well. So not the most exciting race to watch at all, I must say.
Okay, so not too much going on in Italy.
No.
Maybe the next one holds something a little better. When is the next one coming up, actually? How
So
many
it'll
weeks
be
is it?
it's
Uh,
the week after
right,
next,
yes,
if
you
I
mentioned
recall. Yeah.
last time it was the
Yeah.
kind of action-packed schedule. And then the sevens, Simon, there was sevens in Cape Town. You went down on Friday night. I think you went with was it your mother-in-law, your mom, or something like that? And
Yes, yeah, my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law as well. But yeah, it was great fun. But yeah, it was a fantastic vibe as it always is. Very well organized. I must say, what maybe a little maybe too well organized in a way, because I find, and this is something that just irritates me. I don't know why. Is that they pre-pour drinks? When there's
yes,
like two or three
yes,
people in the queue, and to me that doesn't make any sense. I mean, if so sometimes you're getting like beers that are like warm and flat, and other
yes.
times they're fine when they've just been poured. So to me, if you have a long snaking queue and people are having to wait too long, then pre-pour the drinks. But if you have no one, if you have two or three people in the queue, they have so many bars in there that you don't need to do that. So I think it's just, especially you're paying like 45 rand for like a pint which is missing about 50 mils off the top. I just think that to pre-pour the beers when you don't need to is just a bit silly. But anyway, that's just my rant for the morning. But yeah, look, the Blitzbokke were pretty good in their first match against Chile, which I caught live. That was kind of how the Friday concluded. Very cool build up, and it was nice. Lots of chaos around them, but geez, we were terrible against Ireland. Our backline was terribly flat, taking the ball standing
Mm,
still, handling errors like you can't believe. So I think the Blitzbokke will be very, very disappointed with that performance, especially after how well they played in the Commonwealth Games. When they
yeah.
beat Fiji in Birmingham, they were like flawless,
It's
absolutely
it's the
flawless.
nature of sevens, though. It is. I mean, you'll have, unless you have extremely dominant sides, which you don't really see that much anymore. But there's a lot of
Yeah,
inconsistency, yeah, like
yeah,
which
and
is good.
there weren't too many injuries as well. I don't know. We just really didn't look up for it. In that first game, we had
Mm,
moments of brilliance. We weren't 100%, but we were pretty good against Chile. But man, we looked really, really bad against Ireland. So that was very disappointing. I think everyone, obviously, when you host a World Cup, you want a better showing than that.
yes, yes, of
We
course.
certainly didn't deliver on expectation.
Yeah, but then Simon, we can take a look at some of the sport coming up. Finally, it's just
Mm,
something that I can get a little bit excited about because of my lack of watching over the weekend. Man, I don't know.
sure.
But yeah, so I'm not sure what's happening with all of these fixtures because there's a lot of talk about the London games being called off. I don't know if
Okay.
you've heard any of that chatter, and there's quite a few juicy kind of London. Oh, actually, I'm just looking now, and yeah, there's really not all that much going on. I don't know if you've had a look at the schedule.
Okay. Well, I looked at the schedule this morning, and it seemed like the matches were going ahead, but I stand to be corrected.
So we've
From
got
what I
seven games by the looks of it.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
the Villa Southampton kickoff being on the Friday night, is that still
Yes, yes.
yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, so look, there's no to me, there's no sort of absolute standout fixture in the EPL this week. Obviously, we had some quite juicy matches lined up,
Newcastle, Bournemouth.
over the weekend.
Cough, cough.
Yeah, well, geez, I really hope that we can live up to. I mean, look, the bookies have us as such big favorites there, which I mean, we rightfully so. I think that's about the right price. But you just Newcastle always just play better with their backs up against the wall. So who knows? I would not be surprised if we see a crazy draw there or something. But I must say, funny enough, out of all the fixtures in terms of from a betting perspective, I actually think Villa are a solid bet at home against Southampton. They've been touted as sort of top 10 side this season. They drew with City away from home last week, albeit a little bit lucky, and had a good showing against Arsenal the week before. They lost, but they played really, really well. So I expected odds of around 1.95. To me, Southampton are getting relegated this season. So I'll take the 2.09, or you could even get 2.15 if you look around probably on Villa there. I think that's actually a solid bet.
Okay. I don't want to be backing too many teams this weekend because I'm just not sure what. Look, we know what the situation is, but there's also been a game week that they've had a break, like a can break form and things like that. So I'm not going to be backing Man City. It sounds a little bit crazy. Like, I know they're 1.3 away against Wolves. I'm not really interested in backing them. I think the value for me this week lies with the Spurs and Newcastle. I think those are two games where I see those two teams being like, look, they are heavy favorites, but those are the two fixtures where I think the game will be decided by like a couple of goals.
Yeah, sure.
Like Leicester's defense has been absolutely terrible. They're struggling to score goals as well. They're not the same side. I think Spurs are probably going to put a couple past them, maybe 2 or 3. So I like Spurs on the handicap there. And also, I fancy lots of goals in the Newcastle Bournemouth match. Those are the two fixtures I've kind of zoned in on this week.
Okay, no, I like that. I like both those two as well.
So lots of goals. I mean, Newcastle, Bournemouth defense is not great, but they can score goals. Newcastle defense is solid, and they have been scoring goals because look, lots of injuries and stuff like that. But I'm not sure what the team news is now because of the kind of break with the game week and all of those injuries. But over 2.5 is 1.8, which really isn't bad. I feel for Newcastle at home.
Yeah,
maybe Newcastle to win an over 1.5.
I suppose the reason that it's sort of odds on is they're expecting Newcastle to keep a clean sheet. A 2-0 result would obviously result in the under. So, I can kind of understand that there's a lean slightly towards the under because they're not really expecting Bournemouth to score. But as you say, I mean, I would not be surprised if both teams scored in this match at all.
Yeah, no, that's also true. So that's not a bad one to take. I do fancy Newcastle for the win. I don't see Bournemouth picking up an upset. So. Yeah, I mean, Newcastle over 2.5, Newcastle over 1.5, you're going to get 1.7 on the over 1.5, you're going to get 2.16 on the Newcastle one and over 2.5. So that's going to be my first one. And then going back to that Spurs game, sorry, Simon. I also fancy like the handicap there, or I fancy goals as well. I mean, Leicester just not great, and you can get a similar price on any of the Newcastle things, kind of betting margins, and than you will get on the Spurs game. They're priced pretty similarly, so I wouldn't be expecting to see too much variation there. So those are my two best bets for the week on the Premier League.
Okay.
Like, I'm not exactly sure what the odds are on a handicap, but minus 1.5. I think that. Oh, here we go. I've got it over here. So, sorry, minus 1.5, 2.24. Not bad for Spurs there.
Sure, gotcha.
Yeah, Spurs to win 2 or more, 2.24. Right. Any other fixtures you want to chat about there, Simon?
No, I think that's about it. As I said, not the most exciting fixture, but no. I do like Villa, or Slate at least. I do like Villa at home there. 2.09 or even bigger.
Okay. 2.09 Simon's gone, so we'll pop that in there. I'm just going to take Newcastle and Spurs straight up as well. We'll put that into a nice little accumulator that's paying 4.5, which is pretty decent. And then the week after that, we've got some lacquer fixtures, but we'll obviously chat about that. That's going to be a cracking weekend. We've got the Manchester Derby, we've got the North London Derby weekend. Looking forward to that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. Might have to just sit down in the pub. And then, Simon, we've got some Champions League. Once again, I haven't been following it. I did mention that. Well, I've been following it, but I'm not betting it that much as yet.
Yeah,
So
there's one. I mean, there's one absolute standout game tonight, and that's Bayern hosting Barcelona. Obviously, you've seen
mm,
some many exciting clashes in the past. I mean, look, we all know the Germans have been more dominant than Barca in recent years. But with the return of Lewandowski and addition of Sadio Mane, I mean, Lewandowski had a very short term at Barca and then came straight back to Bayern. And Sadio Mane obviously has joined from Liverpool. So I must say, I mean, Bayern's attacking offense is looking even more dangerous than it was before. So they're actually on a record of 24 Champions League home group games unbeaten, which is quite something. So I actually think odds of 1.96, which is what I saw was available at Betway, pretty decent on Bayern there at home. I like that. I would have
yeah, no,
expected
that's
them
a
to be
cracker
close.
price. So that was what just jumped out to me. That
Yeah,
sorry.
I would have expected them to be close to 1.8 to
Yeah.
1.85 maybe, but 1.96 actually looks really nice there. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I just think that Bayern will have too much for them. And they just have a brilliant Champions League record, especially playing in front of
Yeah,
their
and
home
Barca
fans.
aren't. They just aren't. They aren't the Barca of old. They're just really
Yeah,
struggling.
yeah. So that would certainly be not only from a viewing perspective, but also from a betting perspective. That would be my pick there. We've also got on Wednesday, so tomorrow, Man City hosting Dortmund and Juventus hosting Benfica.
Yeah.
And then Chelsea got Salzburg at Stamford Bridge, so that shouldn't be too much trouble. But God, I mean, who knows with a new manager, Graham Potter taking over, a bit of
Big moves
turbulence
there.
there.
Yeah.
I still
That was
can't
that was a
believe
that was a crazy that was a crazy move firing
honestly, that is
to Tuchel.
I think the strangest, the biggest head scratcher I've seen. I mean, Tuchel was doing brilliantly. I don't understand. I don't get it honestly. I don't know what the management expected from him.
Yeah,
I mean, it'd be like a few weeks in.
and what do you do for your
Anyway,
Aubameyang? The guy's just come in. I don't.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
just don't
you're.
get it. Honestly, I really don't. I think they should have stuck with him. I think he was an
Yeah,
excellent manager.
yeah. They should have stuck through it. I mean, you look at all the other sides. You look at sides like Liverpool. You look at sides like okay, United are actually doing all right so far. But you look at sides like Liverpool, even City to an extent.
Mm.
Just haven't been performing. And you're not going to see them just suddenly like, okay, look, it's not quite the same situation, but they're not going to have a knee jerk like that
No,
and sack a quality manager who's
yeah. The thing is,
they've been playing quality football, just hasn't
They
been clicking yet.
they have been. They've been very, very disciplined, very well drilled under Tuchel. So I just understand. Also, it's one thing firing a manager, but unless you're sure you can bring someone in better, what is the point? Like
Yes,
unless you've got someone on your radar that you're like, okay, this guy is gonna do a better job. I just don't see Potter doing as good a job, and unless you're gonna bring in someone, just absolutely
like one of those premier
incredible.
kind of, yeah,
Yeah, like I mean, someone in Pep sort of pedigree.
yes,
What's the
Pep,
point?
Klopp,
I
yeah,
just don't understand. Yeah,
yeah.
so it's a real strange decision from my perspective.
Yeah, interesting times ahead. Interesting times ahead. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all the soccer wrapped up. There's just the rugby championships. South
Yeah,
Africa taking on Argentina. Argentina is beating New Zealand and then getting absolutely hammered. And now we're heading over there to take them on.
yeah, it's quite an interesting. The table's quite interesting because basically every team has won one, lost one. Um, so the only thing that's separating the teams is the bonus points. So yeah, I mean we had obviously a fiery match against the Wallabies 2 weeks ago, which ended in quite a comfortable win for the Springboks. But now we face Argentina, who have just like we have drawn one against Australia, lost one against New Zealand. Drawn one against Australia, lost one against Australia, drawn one against New Zealand, lost one against New Zealand. So you're in exactly the same kind of boat as they are. And yeah, look, I don't think this is going to be an easy game. I think over the years, the Los Pumas have proven themselves to be
Mm,
quality. They're definitely not worth writing off. So look, Argentina, as I said, have also drawn their series against New Zealand and Australia. So they're kind of, as I said, in the same kind of boat as us. So this handicap is 6.5 points in the favor of the Springboks, which is kind of exactly where I would have it if I was setting the line. So kind of looking at it from a betting perspective is tricky. For me, it's quite simple. If we play it about 90% or better, we'll probably win this match by
yeah,
10 points or more. If not, the handicap's not going to be easy to cover. So it's quite a tricky one. It's sort of, look, we can obviously beat Argentina and we can beat them quite comfortably if we play a fairly good game. So then I suppose like the next question becomes then, do I think we'll be played 90% or better? I don't know. It's hard to tell, especially with like not much team news out at this stage. As I said, I think the line looks spot on for now. So I'm finding it hard to come up with a bet on this one right now. But I think as the week
I think
develops,
the
and
handicap's a fair punt just at face value. Like you mentioned, I don't think it's too far off.
no, I think it looks about right.
Yeah, and yeah. I mean, look, I'd like to take something like Boxer 1 to 12, but I feel like they could win by more than that. I mean,
They could. That's the
40.
thing. As I said, they could easily win. They could easily win by 10 points or more. And that's the thing. It just depends. Are we going to get like a 75% Springboks? Or are we going to get like 100? How are we going to come into this? And it's hard to tell without any team news. It's just hard to know. I mean, the motivation should be there. There should be no reason for them not to be motivated to win this quite comfortably. But it's tricky. You just don't know. You don't know what side's going to rock up. So yeah, I'm not rushing to back Argentina in the plus. But at the same time, I think if we don't play well, this is going to be a tricky handicap to cover.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really hard one. As I said, to me, it's spot on.
It should be one that we're targeting though, surely.
Oh sure, it should be. It should be. I mean, we could put away this game in the first half if
Yes,
we played 100% for sure.
but
I mean,
yeah.
we could have beaten Australia in the first half last week quite easily. But we didn't. So you just it's hard to tell. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the handicap's the right bet here. To be honest, I can't see it. And if the handicap bet loses, you know what? Then something must have gone disastrously wrong for the Springboks, and they're probably going to lose the game. So if you think the Springboks are going to win, I think bet the handicap. And if you don't think they're going to win, then take a punt on the
Right.
premiums.
So you think, yeah, so it's kind of a case of if they win, they cover the spread.
Yes.
But it probably won't be a close game. But I mean, yeah.
Yes. So for example, I've got no interest in backing Argentina on any kind of plus.
Yeah.
So even like up to like 10 or something, I wouldn't take. I wouldn't want to take that. So my money would rather go on South Africa.
Sure.
And I think that pretty much wraps it up. I think that's the only rugby championship fixture. I don't think they. Oh no, they are playing. Australia
No,
are playing New Zealand. Australia are playing New
yes,
Zealand.
yes. To be honest, I haven't really even looked into that. I was just had my eyes on
Not
that.
much to look into Australia. Heavy underdogs.
Yeah.
So
What is the handicap? There's what 10,
the handicap is 10.5. Yeah, on New Zealand.
10.5. Okay.
So I think
Pretty
that's
close.
probably right, and I think it's probably going to be something along that line. And I'm not going to try and call that game. I don't know what's going on in the rugby championship this year. It's been
Yeah.
a little topsy turvy. But yeah, guys, that's our best bets for the weekend. Aston Villa to beat Southampton. That was it, Simon. Newcastle to beat Bournemouth and Spurs to beat Leicester. You're getting 4.55 on that. One rand's going to return 4.69 with that little bet weight boost. Not a bad punt. I'll put that through, and hopefully we get a winner next week. But Simon, thanks for joining, and guys, thanks for tuning into the podcast. And hopefully we'll have a lot more soccer to talk about in the next episode. And yeah, we'll catch you in the next one. Have a good one, guys. Cheers.